pull up in here. Okay, think we're just about ready here. Let me go into here. Boom, boom, boom. And pull up the YouTube chat on my phone. Okay, there we go. All right. Hello everyone, my name is Moot Monthly, and today we are talking about Pokemon Horizons episode 95, just aired today, a few hours ago, and I want to break it down because this is a pretty fundamental episode to setting up the actual plot of Pokemon Horizons Mega Voltage. We're finally seeing what Spinel's one aspect of Spinel's end goal is, and that is the Strong Sphere. It is a new device. Well, not new per se, but a specialized version of the device he used to capture the 6 heroes. And how it works is it uses condensed distilled Reculeum gas to power up a Pokemon at the expense of massively weakening it after using attacks. So basically, the attacks have a lot of recoil. Notably, these spheres, as of right now, don't seem to have the same effect that the regular Reculeum has. Originally, if you recall, when using Reculeum, the Pokemon would go berserk essentially and not listen to commands, and it was kind of a mess. Thus, these spheres allow widespread usage of Reculeum to power up Pokemon, if only for a brief moment. We saw this even in that one girl from the Terrestrial course who was like a dot copy or whatever. She used it on her Swanna, and she was able to command it. And even though the Swanna was very exhausted after winning, it was able to take down an Electivire with a single water gun. So really, like, the power is quite something. Bach, yeah. So in general, the episode was pretty good. We never really learned why Uruto was so upset at the beginning of the episode. I think that it had to do with Exceed to begin with. Um, he didn't really mention it, but as Liko and Roy's battle progressed, Uruto became more and more car sickness. That might be true. That might actually be it. I don't think he really talked about. He didn't really say he was car sick, but I think he was car sick. Actually, that might actually be what it is. Um, and when Roy went to talk to Uruto basically just told him to leave him alone, and Uruto walked off. But, over the course of the episode, he became more and more enthusiastic, and basically saved Meowscarada and Crocolore, who got bitched and then started getting kicked while they were down. Now, I don't think Sango and Onyx commanded their Pokemon to do that, but they definitely didn't stop them. It was, they lost, right? I think that's the big thing a lot of people are talking about, is that how, like, Liko and Roy got one shot. And I've already seen, on Twitter and on Cerebi and on a bunch of other places, like, I've seen a lot of people basically complaining, saying, well, why'd they get one shot? Well, the point is that the writers need to establish Reculeum Mons as an actual threat. Like, if Liko and Roy just beat them whenever they use the Strong Spheres, what's the point of even introducing it as a plot point? Like, there's no point. Like, it's just like, oh, it's just a rather random thing. That's not really a big deal. But the fact that, uh, they were able, Onyx was able to one shot them was pretty good. And, of course, the reason why Onyx landed the hit, uh, the reason why Onyx landed the hit to begin with was because uh, their Pokemon were standing still in order to get terastallized, but Onyx interrupted it, which was pretty smart. Uh, you know, People always wondered, well, why don't they ever interrupt the Mega Evolution scene or the Terastal or whatever? Well, that's why. Like, you can do it, and it normally just leads to a win. So overall, pretty good. I think that if Roy had used Lucario, they probably would have won. But at the end of the day, Liko and Roy didn't even send out their Pokemon. Like, they just ran onto the field, right? Crocolore has history with the Explorers. Crocolore wanted to battle the Explorers. And this was another thing I was talking about, like, Pokemon personalities, right? Like, the Pokemon are characters, too. And, yeah, if Roy had used Lucario, Mega Evolved from the jump, he probably could have beaten both of them by himself because he's super effective about both. But the end of the day, Crocolore wanted to fight them, and Roy responds to his Pokemon's wishes. Like, Crocolore isn't as strong as Lucario, but Crocolore has that passion to fight them, and Roy, acceded to that, right? Which is why he chose Crocolore. So, at the end of the day, the battle itself was good. Liko and Roy both showed, a lot of tactical usage, a lot of tactical prowess, almost. As compared to before, and they kind of knew that the Raccoolium Mons, getting hit by those attacks would not end good for them. So yeah, in general, the writing, the actual plot in the episode was good. I think they did a really good job setting up how positively the public views the Explorers. And they also did a really interesting thing by bringing back Bach, who failed her Terrestrial course, and naturally she's going to look for another way to move forward as a trainer, so she came to this thing. It's really interesting. I'm kind of surprised that they brought that character back. It shows a lot of prescience about and also a lot of awareness about the world that they're in right now. I think that the only Pokemon anime that has done this well with its side characters, bringing them back, involving them in various arcs, is Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon did a really good job with the various side characters in the region. And as a result, I'm pretty interested in how Horizons is doing it. Of course, the ending, as of right now, the MCs, they're in Johto. That's where they are. And they just left the Exceed building, and Terapagos is yapping at Blackthorn City. Now, Blackthorn City is for a couple of reasons, okay? The first thing is that most likely Terapagos sensed Rayquaza's presence in Blackthorn or near Blackthorn. And as a result, Terapagos wants to go there. They do go there, actually, according to the next episode's summary. It's not a filler episode, bro. It's the opposite of a filler episode. You think there's no episode in Mega Voltage so far has been a filler episode, and this episode is actually the opposite of a filler episode. There is some sort of cavern in Blackthorn that they just showed as the ending frame of this episode. So there's something there that is plot relevant, okay, first of all. Then we had Terapagos yapping at the mountain that Blackthorn is in, specifically because it felt Rayquaza's presence, and that's the reason why Liko and Roy go to Blackthorn next episode. In the summary, it says it's because there was a Rayquaza sighting. And, most of all, Terapagos making glowy eyes at the Cyclizar because it reminds Terapagos of Koraidon. Okay, and that was in the preview. There's a lot of small. There's a lot of small forewarning or foreshadowing hints just in the few things we've already seen in the episode, right? Like each and every episode in Mega Voltage is building on itself. And I think the biggest reason for this and the biggest reason why this writing feels so consistent is because this episode was written by story writers as well. The first 6 episodes have all been written by story writers or Matsuzawa, which is almost like in the last few arcs, almost unprecedented, aside from arc 4, the ending of it, which was written by Matsuzawa. This is real nice overall. This is real good. And yeah, the episodes have just been written really consistently. I really liked to see Stunfisk Glop. Okay, but the thing is, at this point, we know that you can't judge a Mega Voltage episode by its cover. So Stunfisk might actually be like Zorara's best friend or something, and you wouldn't even know. But at the end of the day, um, very excited to see where where this goes. I really liked Roy and Uruto's interaction at the beginning, kind of showing them a wider gamut of interactions, even if it was because Uruto was car sick, which might actually be the case. That's why he was mad. That'd be pretty funny. But Uruto does seem to view the strong spheres in a very negative light. He breaks the strong sphere like right in front of Sengo. Sengo's pissed off. This is all real nice. Um, One thing to note is that a gate says that basically, like Sango and Onyx ask if they should chase Liko, Roy, and Uruto, but Sango, a gate basically just says no. Like they're like those kids can't really do anything. Like we're the explorers, we have exceeded, we have all the backing. Like we don't need to chase after them. So that's nice. Kind of gives a little bit more explanation as to why the kids themselves haven't been like prosecuted or chased after or anything. That's Exceed's viewpoint on them right now. Yeah. Um. Overall, episode's pretty solid. I don't like the only thing I'll say about this episode as like a flaw was that I feel like a couple of the transitions were a bit awkward. I don't think I would even say like awkward. It was more like the actual flow of the episode made sense, but the way in which Nagakawa kind of structured the episode and the amount of time he gave to different things was a bit off in my opinion. I think that I'm not really sure what I would fix though. How would you make this pace better? I mean, at the end of the day, like they need to show a demonstration of what the strong sphere does to a regular trainer. They also need to show the battle, which was the big part, right? The battle was the big part. Um and then finally they need to show the explorer's reaction to the whole event, what they really thought, as well as Uruto, which is I think is the biggest thing, is Uruto joining them like kind of officially on their journey. And of course, Uruto is nervous talking to Liko. I think he's just nervous around girls. I don't know. Um, but yeah, overall, I don't think anything's gonna come of it. It's just like a quirk. Overall, yeah, I think the episode was good. There was actually not as much like plot dumping as I was expecting. I really did like how Liko was more emotional uh, when battling and talking with them before the battle. Oh, Liko Liko wants to put Sango in a ditch. Like, let's just be straight up. And she was pissed. Pissed more so than she showed more emotion when she told Sango to shut the fuck up than she has in the past like 5 episodes. I'm not gonna lie. That was pretty good. Yeah. Honestly, I don't really have a whole lot more much else to talk about. Of course, um there were, some interesting conversations, but at the end of the day, actually the spotlight of the episode. Yeah, that too. That was really good. Yeah, they were just like, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't want the strong spirit. But I do think that like this episode didn't have a lot of dialogue, which is surprising because most story writers episodes are yap fests. This episode was a lot more about Liko and Roy finally meeting the explorers again after a year. Liko showing like what she thought of them. And Liko and Roy called them out on the Raculium too. They said that like, these strong spheres like they're clearly hurting your Pokemon. But, Sango didn't really care. Sango was just kind of like, as long as I win, it's fine. And it kind of does show the disparity between them. I really thought like it's honestly when it comes to Sango and Onyx, I'm a little I'm a little conflicted. Okay? Like towards the end of Rayquaza Rising, they really did show that Sango and Onyx's humanity, as well as them questioning Spinel whenever they lost, and then Spinel made the 6 heroes go crazy. Sango and Onyx didn't like it, so I'm a little weird. I'm a little confused on what happened to them over the past year for Sango and Onyx to support Spinel in these practices now, because they do clearly care about their Pokemon, especially Sango, right? Like we had that whole bit about her catching Screamtail and stuff. Like she clearly cares to an extent, but why why is she okay with very clearly making her Glalie suffer? Like it doesn't really make sense. Onyx it does because Onyx's Garbanacle has recover. So it doesn't matter. Like it can use as many Raculium attacks as it wants. It just recovers after and it's fine. But that's not the chase. That's not the point for that's not the point of the issue. The issue is that the explorers, especially these two admins who we've had a lot more humanizing moments and stuff of over arcs 3 and 4, these admins are basically going against a lot of the development they've had over the past several arcs, which is confusing to say the least. So I do want to see, a bit of a backstory, a bit of a reasoning behind why they're doing this. I think that Sango and Onyx just hate Liko and Roy enough to just do it anyway, just so they can beat them. And of course, they did beat them, right? So I guess it worked. But again, I think that if Roy was able to Mega Evolve Lucario, Mega Lucario would beat both of them. But he didn't, and they lost. So I'm a little interested to see how Liko and Roy end up combating this, because you'll just get one shot if you stay still to use Terrestrial or anything. So what are you gonna do? It'll be interesting. So yeah, when it comes to future episodes, of course we have this Blackthorn episode, which has the opportunity to show some pretty cool stuff. We have Stunfisk, and then after that we are in the summer episodes. The latter half of Core 1, and I'm expecting to see something interesting. Now, I think Blueberry is showing up, or not even Blueberry, but just like Nimona and that kid with the Capsicid will show up after we have our break, which is after 97. I think in June we're going to be going back to Paldea. Pretty much, I think we're pretty much done. Well, Animedia is not going to have June episodes. That's the thing. Animedia isn't going to have June episodes. So, we're not going to get any info about June episodes until like TV station, and that's like the fourth week of that's like the fourth week of May. So that's like weeks away. Um, yeah. So 97, and then we're probably gonna go into Paldea. I think that Johto is pretty much done with. I do like as I said, I do like the continuity from episode to episode. You know, geographical continuity, and that's because they're not flying around, right? They're literally walking around. So, or taking a bus or a train or whatever. So it's overall really solid. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, the episode itself was good. As I said, I kind of want more. I kind of wanted more dialogue. Like this episode was more of a battle episode, and I feel like some episodes in Mega Voltage they've had a lot of dialogue when it should have been more about the battling and stuff. And in this episode, because they're meeting up with the explorers for the first time, yeah, they have the battle, but they should have more meaningful conversations. I wanna see more of more depth in Liko's emotions about the explorers. I wonder what's gonna happen when they leave Poke Japan. Will we see them taking a plane? Probably. I mean, Paldea is the only way to get to Paldea is through Kalos. That's the only way you can walk into Paldea, and they're probably gonna take a plane. I mean, it's probably what's gonna be. So yeah, this is basically after Blackthorn. That's basically the end of the first little arc of Mega Voltage, and I think after that we have to see where they go from here because the Gen 10 rumors, no, I mean, not really. I don't. As I said before, I'm gonna talk about that stuff in June, like if it happens. This is mainly about the anime. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I don't think there's at the end of the day there isn't a whole lot aside from the big things, right? Liko and Roy fought the explorers. They met the explorers again. Liko kind of expressed herself more than usual. The explorers are using these strong spheres in order to legitimize the usage of Requiem in the eyes of trainers around the world. They're literally bussing trainers in to come watch and try to use Requiem for themselves. And this is part of Spinel's grand plan, right? He wants to legitimize Requiem and make the world dependent on it so that he can control it. And also, Uruto, disapproving of the Requiem, he wants to save the Pokemon that are getting abused by Exceed. Thus, he joins them at the end, and he's going to be with them in the future. It is a little. I think that Uruto joining, it is a little less dramatic than some of the other character joinings, both in this series as well as in previous series. It's kind of just Uruto's just kind of yeah, I'm coming with you guys now. And now that Uruto really is firmly in the Requiem, he's in Exceed, he's seen everything, and Liko and Roy know his true stance on it. They are comfortable bringing him along now. So yeah, overall, episode is pretty straightforward, surprisingly straightforward actually. But it was good. We do know what their general goal is now, and I think that was important. This will likely be one of the only true plot heavy episodes in this first core. I don't think the next 6 episodes are going to be super important. Aside from if they go to Blueberry, obviously that's different, but that's also not necessarily impacting the Requiem plot at all. This is probably the big Requiem or just Exceed Explorers episode in general this arc. Anyway, I think I'm actually gonna just call it there. I might do a bit more of a breakdown when subs come out, just so that's easier for people to understand. But that might just be on Twitter. I don't see the point in like going through a whole live stream. One thing I will say, if you guys are not aware, I am hosting a Switch 2 contest right now. Actually, my friends and I are hosting a Cobblemon server, and if you play in it over the next week or so, we're gonna be doing like a tournament at the end of it. You basically will take this week to build up your Pokemon team, all that, and then we will do a tournament. Uh, the winner gets a Switch 2. So yeah, definitely uh, go to the Bravest Like Discord server, check it out. It's in announcements. Everything you need. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. Um, like, subscribe, join Bravest Like Discord, and I'll see you guys next time.